been working denim actually. When I was a kid, and you know, like every designer, I guess everybody sort of starts by cutting up their own clothes. I remember cutting up all my pieces of denim, and I would make like bags with the pockets, like terrible things, really bad, but I would make stuff. Then when my parents got very mad at me, I was very young, and they stopped buying denim. And then when I was starting to cut up my clothes, and I thought it was very boring. When you work with denim, there is so many reproducible elements that are very recognizable. It's like you have a chart of codes, and you just have to work around it. I'm very, very obsessed since very early on by the piece of art by Joseph Cosut, One Chair, Three Chairs. That's what got me into fashion art, anything creative. When I saw this piece, to me this is what my work has always been about, you know, that thing of reproducing that same piece but reinterpreting it, and you know, always thinking of what is this piece, what does it mean, and how do you interpret it, if that makes sense. Basically what I wanted to do is reproduce kind of like the archetype of the denim jacket and reproduce it, except I'm gonna hand weave it from scratch. And I'm weaving it with copper so that you can mold and sculpt it. So then we're going to shoot it, and I'm going to kind of like mold it around the model. It's quite time consuming, but at the same time we weave, you know, like those yarns one by one, so it's quite normal, I guess. This is something I really disagree with, that way of buying. When I was younger, I would go to H&M and buy 10 pieces with, you know, the money I had for Christmas or whatever, and but very quickly I realized I don't really like any of those one pieces. Maybe 2 or 3 of them I'm never gonna wear and throw them straight away out. I just kind of realized that, like, why don't we just save up and buy something really special? I'm about collecting pieces, making like a nice wardrobe, kind of curated, and not just buying stuff and throw them away, and you know, like maybe going back to mending pieces you like. I'm quite worried about the fact that everybody at the moment is making a big deal about it being like a new trendy thing. Because to me, I've always worked with denim because it's outside of trends. When you look around, everybody's wearing it, no matter their age or their from. This limit is something that annoys me because there's something so superior about art, and I don't believe in that anymore. I believe in being at the frontier. I think this is very contemporary. I really admire brands like Bless. Bless to me is exactly at the limit, and especially, you know, they created their own thing. They're doing fashion their own way. They're doing jewelry their own way. And that, I think, you know, their work somehow is a piece of art. But in the end, they have a product, and they're in shops, and it touches people. I love Boris Vian. I think Boris Vian probably opened my mind. I don't know if you know, because he's French. He's from the 60s when there was the rise of science fiction books. To me, it's a big inspiration because it's novels, but he depicts reality, but in his own twisted way. For example, his girlfriend would fall sick, and for like a while you're like, oh shit, what does she have? Maybe she has cancer. Well, you know, you're wondering what she has, and she actually has a water lily in her stomach. There is this thing that fascinates me about, you know, when things are not what they're meant to be, or when, you know, you discover that maybe the world is not what you thought. I don't know, that kind of limit between real and not real is really amazing to me. Because I miss dreaming a lot and going in the garden and seeing the ants, seeing the ladybugs, making collections of them, and it sounds cruel, but I was actually keeping them as pets. You know, it's just like all the authors that make you still dream, I guess. I have done about maybe 70 centimeters yesterday, so then I stayed a little bit after the live broadcast stopped to will come, my assistant, and she will start sewing. She'll come with a new loom and I'm going to start again another piece. So I think we're about at the third. I have a very square way actually of approaching color. I always want the colors to make sense, because to me I don't do anything that's decorative, if that makes sense. So if it's blue, it's because, you know, denim is blue. If I use green, it would probably be because it's a plant. Otherwise I tend to avoid colors. Anything that is just here to be beautiful. There's a lot of samples that I discard just because they're beautiful, but they don't have a real purpose in the collection. They don't bring anything to the table. To me, it's a story in itself when you see somebody sculpting a piece that normally is, you know, like the piece that you see everywhere. That's why I prefer design than art as well, because it's always about the everyday object. But there's a backstory about the object. Like maybe somebody like Michel Gondry would do that kind of thing, you know? The science of sleep would be a bit like that fine line between reality. To me, this is what design is, and to me, this is what the story is with this jacket that looks like just the random jacket you have in the back of your wardrobe. And suddenly you can come and sculpt it and make it into whatever you want, really. The jacket you would like to have if you lived in a cartoon somehow, you know? I'm very clumsy, and I'm very not kind of agile with my fingers. If you see me make bobbin, my boyfriend laughs every time I make a bobbin, because I've been doing it for years, but I'm still, you know, I don't have a good relation between my hands and my brain. So I do lots of mistakes. I often, you know, would kind of like drop the ink on the fabric, and I would often be like, ah, that's nice, that's interesting, because of this or this reason. It will very often come from mistake, but then there's this whole sense, then when you become a company, it becomes kind of difficult as well. Personally, it was really hard to have the company, and sometimes, you know, like we try to cut something, it doesn't work, or because it's so experimental, sometimes some ideas just won't really work. And then I found this quote, and I don't know who wrote it. It's, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And that kind of changed my life, because I realized, because I always thought I was a very unlucky person, and that sentence made me realize I was actually very unprepared. So now I try to always prepare everything in advance and to think of everything in advance. And now I have Anne as well, who's more like that. So we just always try to plan ahead what's going on if you cut something like this, what's going on if this fabric is like that. Because I'm mainly textiles. I studied fashion, but I'm better at textiles, and Anne is better at, you know, construction, and she has this whole other side of it, all the patterns, you know, knowing how to produce pieces. So that's kind of how we manage the failure. Just the failure management. Failure manager. That's a good position.
Yeah, I should update my CV. But it's also a lot of tests.
Yeah.
You just like try on small pieces to sew it together, see how it goes, if it's working or not. And I'm trying like with many tapes and stuff to make it work.
Obviously I'm quite young and it's the first time I do a label, but I don't know if it was like that before. I feel a real pressure that although we are tiny and we have no means whatsoever, I have to look from outside like I'm a competitor of selling somehow, you know. My website has to be crisp, I have to have a logo, I have to have a visual identity, etc. And I find this quite difficult to keep up with. But at the same time, it's the side of doing a label that interests me. It's not just the clothes, it's creating the whole thing around your name. That's what I'm really excited about. I don't usually tend to do very complicated and intricate weaves. I have done it, but I actually find as well that just simple weaves with interesting yarns work quite well. Like this is just a very simple weave, but it's just, I found like this very beautiful Como silk that is very good quality. I found this copper that you can weave into, and then, you know, like the idea of the piece kind of come out. I think that for now, because you know we're just starting, we're attracting a lot of people who already had this in their mind.
That's interesting.
And also, and after when we actually add content on Facebook, on social media, we explain how things are made, or we show videos of me making it. Like the first thing everybody says about my website is, "Oh, I've seen this video. It's incredible. Like, how do you do this?" or things like that. So I think it's really, it comes from that. There is this really big misconception of you cannot buy designers if you don't come from a family that has lots of money, or if you don't make a lot of money. And I really hate that. Not everything costs as much as you think, especially now that there is like Yukes, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, this is Margiela jewelry from the show. I got it for £40. People have to stop thinking so straight that everything is black or white. It's not. What we are doing is that we have like a bit like, you know, the old picture labels that were written by hand. We do that as well. So the person who wrote your piece will have like the name, the date, etc. You can go on the website once you buy a piece and like look who made it. To me it's really important, and I want to work for, we're just a small label with little means, but I want to make this bigger, and I want to go deeper in this. I find that this is the interesting thing. And I think that if people have this relationship with their clothes, maybe they won't throw it away. I mean, we don't recycle clothes. I don't really know. I think I was watching an interview of Stella McCartney, and she was saying like that, like, I don't know how many millions of clothes are bought in high street that haven't been worn once in the UK in 1 year, and just, you know, this is as well wastage. This is pollution. It's a bit hypocrite to recycle your plastic bottles and then to just throw everything else that is in your wardrobe every few months, you know.